I don't want to curse myself or anything, but it's going to be hard to top today's video because the DFB team and I are about to spill our guts, revealing all the biggest Disney World secrets that we've accumulated over the years that have helped us out tremendously while navigating the park. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Now, before you ask, no, the title of this video is not an exaggeration. We literally have someone from the DFB team in the parks every single day, scoping out the scene, trying the latest snacks, gauging the crowd levels, and reporting back to the team with the latest secrets and hidden tips that they've uncovered. And believe it or not, after so many years in the parks, we are still finding secrets and hidden tips. And today, we're passing those down to you to make sure you can apply all these secrets to your upcoming Disney World vacation. Side note, before we jump into things, a handful of today's points will reflect our personal experiences using Disney Genie Plus. So if you're not familiar with how that premium line skipping tool works, or you just need a refresher on it, scan the QR code you see on the screen now, or head to disneyfoodblog.com/DisneyGeniePlus to download our free Genie cheat sheet for a quick but very thorough catch-up session. All right, first up, you might need to wait for the second checkpoint, actually. So we're going to start off with a Genie Plus point, because this particular situation can give you a little jolt of panic if you don't know what's happening. When you purchase Disney Genie Plus for the day, you can only select one lightning lane at a time. You'll be able to choose your next one when A, you've used the last one you selected and are ready to book another, B, your first return time window has ended because you missed it, or C, 120 minutes have passed since you booked your last lightning lane. Now, let's say you've got one lightning lane in your inventory, but you're about to scan it and make a new one. Don't panic right away if you scan your lightning lane and you aren't immediately able to make another selection just yet, because that's a tip that is often given, is once you scan your lightning lane and you're in line for that ride, you can make another lightning lane, right? Now, for some rides, you'll scan your Magic Band or park ticket only once to use your lightning lane, and you'll be automatically cleared to make another as soon as you're in line. But for other rides, there might be 2 lightning lane touch points you need to scan through before you're able to make another ride selection. So Tower of Terror is a good example. It's over in Hollywood Studios. Depending on the day, you might be required to scan your Magic Band or ticket for your lightning lane at both the entrance of the Tower of Terror queue and at the entrance of the Tower of Terror building itself before you're loaded into the pre-show room, meaning you'll have to wait to make another lightning lane selection until you've passed through both lightning lane checkpoints. Now, this next one is a tip that I hope a lot of you know already, but just in case you don't, this is VV important. When you're ready to head out of Magic Kingdom at the end of the day, the monorail line can be incredibly intimidating. It is bonker balls, you guys. But don't forget that there are actually 2 monorails you can use and not just one. On the left-hand side, you'll find the Resort Monorail, which takes you straight to the Contemporary. On the right-hand side, you'll find the Express Monorail, which takes you straight to the Transportation and Ticket Center, where your car probably is. When you drive to Magic Kingdom and are just trying to get back to your car, the Express Monorail seems like it's your only answer. But there are actually 2 answers here. Even if you're not a resort guest for the Contemporary or Polynesian Village or Grand Floridian, you're still totally allowed to board the Resort Monorail if you think the line for it's going to be shorter than the Express one. The Resort Monorail does make that extra stop at the Contemporary, but it's right there at the Transportation and Ticket Center next, so you'll still end up at the place you need to be to track down your car and maybe wait in a lot shorter line. Because you know who's in that line for the Express Monorail? Everybody who doesn't watch these videos. All right, this next tip I love, and we do not talk about it enough. You know what can be even more intimidating than the monorail lines at Magic Kingdom? The security check lines at the Orlando International Airport. But the new MCO Reserve could be just the cheat code you need to skip over all the airport frenzy. MCO Reserve is a free reservation system separate from TSA PreCheck that allows you to scan in and go through security at your selected time. This is a faster, more exclusive line than the regular security check, so you won't be spending potentially hours in line at the airport, especially if you're traveling during busy travel times. Previously, this exclusive line was only available between 5 a.m. and 11 a.m., but at the beginning of the year, hours were extended for reservations between 6:30 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. You can reserve your spot at least 72 hours prior to your flight at reserve.clearme.com. Just make sure that when you do get in line for MCO Reserve, you have your boarding ticket, ID, and MCO Reserve receipt ready to go. MCO Reserve is located between the TSA PreCheck and standard security screening lanes at the checkpoint to gates 1 to 59. Dude, if there's one thing I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy, it'd be a life of purgatory, having to navigate through the Disney Springs crowds on the evenings and the weekend, because it is rough out there. Weekends at Disney Springs create a perfect storm. Locals are off work, tourists are just flying in for their vacations and want to spend their first day doing something Disney-ish, but have free parking. It's just an absolute sardine fest in there sometimes, feeling all squished up against everyone else. If you can avoid Disney Springs during this time, heed my warning and do that. More often than not, the least crowded time to visit this shopping district is in the middle of the week, right when the stores start opening up for the day. It can be a ghost town. But if you have no choice but to visit Disney Springs on a weekend, because you won't be able to visit it at any other time, make sure you've got dining reservations lined up well in advance for any of the table service restaurants that you want to go to. And arrive about an hour early just in case there are lines for parking, especially if you're going in the evening, because believe it or not, those parking garages literally fill up. And if you find that restaurant availability is looking pretty sparse on the My Disney Experience app, try the Open Table website instead. You'll find several Disney Springs restaurants listed here that you can book even earlier than that 60-day advanced dining reservation window that Disney limits you to. Speaking of Disney Springs, let's go to Gideon's Bakehouse. Now, Gideon's has those rare occasions when the wait times aren't all that bad, but more often than not, you're gonna have to wait in a lengthy virtual queue before you can pick up a cookie or cake slice at this particular sweets shop. If you got the extra time in your schedule and you were planning on visiting other parts of the Orlando area anyway, it might be worth the trip to visit the other Gideon's Bakehouse storefront instead over at East End Market. That's the OG Gideon's. The East End Market location is much quieter and usually has much shorter lines, if any line at all, than what you'll experience over at Disney Springs. The East End Market location also has mobile pickup, so you can pre-order your cookies ahead of time and grab them on the go when you swing by the shop. Just keep in mind that some of the Gideon's Bakehouse options are exclusive to the Disney Springs area, like the peanut butter cold brew and the coffee cake cookies. So if those are the options you've really been looking forward to, then sticking with the Springs storefront may be your best bet. Bell services at the Disney hotels are wonderfully useful to hotel guests and visiting guests alike. If you get to your hotel before it's time to check into your room, Bell services will be more than happy to hold your luggage for you while you kill some time over at the pool or explore the hotel grounds, or maybe even head over to Disney Springs or into a park to get a head start on your vacation. But Bell services can also be great in a more specific situation. Let's say you want to grab one last nice breakfast at a hotel before heading over to the airport and flying back home. Even if you were never a guest at that resort, Bell Services will hold your luggage for you so you don't have to worry about dragging it around the restaurant. Now, them holding your luggage is free, but please do tip them when they bring your luggage back. It's optional, but it is customary. This next one is a new tip that we are just about to spoil for everybody. Trader Sam's Grog Grotto over at Disney's Polynesian Village Resort is usually a very hip happening place that can be hard to get into because it doesn't take any advanced dining reservations, nor can you put your name on a virtual wait list via the My Disney Experience app. Instead, you'll have to stand in a physical queue where a cast member will take your name and phone number and contact you as soon as the table becomes available for your group, which could be over an hour depending on the day. Getting in line for this queue can be even more tricky since the bar doesn't open until 3 p.m. and guests can start lining up as early as 90 minutes before that. So would it absolutely shock you if I said the quietest that Trader Sam's gets during the year can sometimes be during some of Disney's peak season times? There are a few nights in the year that you can find Trader Sam's relatively empty, and those nights happen right before Run Disney races. Yep, most of the Disney World runners on these nights are snug as a bug in a rug in their hotel rooms, ready to rest up well for that early wake-up call and the long-distance run that'll take place the next morning. While partying it up at Trader Sam's might be an awesome way to celebrate post-marathon, most runners probably aren't going to pre-game that 5 to 10K race with an alcoholic tiki treat. So if you just so happen to be in Disney World during a Run Disney weekend, but you're not going to be in these races yourself, enjoy a drink for our runner friends out there and take in all the chill Trader Sam's vibes while you're at it on the night before the race. There are some Magic Kingdom fast food restaurants that have ample amounts of tables available for guests, and then there are the other ones that don't. It's absolutely miserable to be holding a tray full of food and circling around the dining area, just hoping and praying for anyone to spare you a table before your food gets cold, or you spill your whole drink, which I've done multiple times carrying trays around Disney World restaurants. But Because we've had to deal with this seating shortage on more than one occasion, we've started finding some solid seating alternatives that might help you out the next time you're stuck with a handful of food and zero table space. If you get a hot dog from Casey's Corner, just head over to the nearby Tomorrowland Terrace. This spot has been closed for a while now, plus there are still tons of open tables and chairs over there to snag, and they're in the shade. And if you grab a waffle sandwich from Sleepy Hollow Refreshments, there is a collection of picnic tables behind Ye Olde Christmas Shop that are much less frequented than the tables over there at Sleepy Hollow. You're going to find them near the gazebo that's now home to the Merida Meet and Greet. While Columbia Harbor House can get packed around lunch and dinner time, the second floor of this quick service often has ample tables left over for you to pick from, and you can people watch from those upstairs window seats too, so you got a meal and a show to look forward to. Copy and paste that same advice for Pinocchio Village House. The second floor might not have as much space as Columbia Harbor House's upstairs dining room has. In fact, it has minimal upstairs space, but nobody knows about it. And there's a nice area near the balcony that normally feels quieter and less hectic. It doesn't matter how many times you've been to Disney World, when you've been waiting in line and you suddenly hear via the overhead speakers that the ride has gone down momentarily, it's always a bummer. And it becomes even more of a bummer when you've already been waiting in line a good amount of time. This forces you to gamble with your park day. Do you keep waiting and hope that the ride goes back online soon, or get out of line and keep from wasting the rest of your park day on just one ride? We call this Schrodinger's ride line. I wish I had a foolproof solution for you, but there really isn't one. Ride breakdowns are unpredictable, and they could last just a few minutes or up to a few hours. Generally, if I'm already in line for a ride that breaks down, I'll wait around 10 to 15 minutes before deciding what to do next. Sometimes a ride breakdown is actually more of a momentary delay than an actual mechanical issue. Like, for instance, if you're on one of those constantly cycling Omnimover rides and someone who's a slower walker or in a wheelchair needs the ride to be slowed down for a moment to give them more time to enter or exit their ride vehicle. But when a ride really breaks down, a cast member will usually come through after that 10 to 15-minute wait and let you know that you're more than welcome to stick around in line, but there's no telling when the ride will be back up and running. This is usually my cue to bow out. If you do get out of the line after this general announcement, or you were planning on getting in line for the ride before it shut down completely, you may want to vulture the area for a bit and stick with the rides and attractions close by, because if the ride goes back online when everybody got out of line and you're still nearby, you can jump back into the queue before everyone else starts piling into it too. And remember, you can see on your My Disney Experience app. On that map, you can see which rides are down and which rides are back up. So you don't have to keep going back to the ride, just keep an eye on your My Disney Experience app. So sneaky Hollywood Studios tips are the best Hollywood Studios tips, especially if that means escaping the intense crowds. Here's the thing, Galaxy's Edge is always so full of people during the day, making it hard to get any real good photos of Batuu and the Millennium Falcon without a ton of people photobombing them. However, you might be able to avoid the crowds altogether and still get that dream Batuu pic you're after. How? By getting a late night reservation at Oga's Cantina. You can actually snag an Oga's Cantina reservation after Hollywood Studios closes to wait out the end of the night rush of people trying to exit the park. So if Studios closes at 9, you might find that Oga's doesn't close until 10, kind of like how the flagship stores stay open for lingering guests too. So if you make a reservation for Oga's at 9:15, you can grab a drink here before heading out to an empty Galaxy's Edge. That being said, if you decide to attempt this strategy, please be mindful of the cast members' time. Cast members are stationed to be in the parks after closures no matter what, so you aren't preventing them from going home if you book a late night at Oga's. However, it's still best to grab your drinks, grab your picks, and wrap up the night without too much extra dilly-dallying so everyone can get to bed at a decent hour. Now, navigating Genie Plus is getting easier and easier all the time, thank goodness. And there's a new helpful feature that's just been added to the My Disney Experience app, which allows you to turn on a filter that will show you only the rides included in the Genie Plus service. You'll see the option right at the top of the ride tipboard page. Just toggle it to remove all the rides that don't have lightning lanes available for you to book. Now, this might be a small change, but it's one that can still help you save time when scrolling through the attractions list and deciding where to make your next Genie Plus selection. It matters more than you think. Now, earlier on, I did mention that you can make new lightning lane selections 120 minutes after you selected your last one. It's called the 120-minute rule. Here's how that strategy works. Let's say I'm at Magic Kingdom around 11 a.m. and I'm booking a lightning lane for Peter Pan's flight. The return time I might be given to get in line for Peter Pan's flight could be for much, much later on in the evening, since lightning lanes for this one fill up pretty fast. But I don't have to wait until the evening to book another lightning lane. Instead, all I've got to do is wait 2 hours and then I can book another one, which if I made the Peter Pan one around 11 a.m., that means I could make my next selection at 1 p.m. And that's how you can end up holding more than one lightning lane at a time. Here's where things get a little tricky though. Another way to book a new lightning lane is by scanning the one you're currently holding, right? So what happens when you're holding multiple lightning lanes at a single time? Well, if I'm stacking my lightning lanes, then I'll only be able to immediately select another one after I used the very last lightning lane I obtained. Another example for you. If I've lined up Haunted Mansion first, Peter Pan's Flight second, and Space Mountain third, thanks to the 120-minute rule, then the only lightning lane out of the 3 that would allow me to immediately book another lightning lane after I use it would be Space Mountain, since that's the very last lightning lane I got. However, if I use the Haunted Mansion lightning lane, I'm still going to have to rely on the 120-minute rule before booking my next ride. Seriously, the art of lightning lanes could be its own college course. The nighttime spectacular, Fantasmic, over at Hollywood Studios is amazing. It's got pyrotechnics, it's got water features, it's got live characters, it's got giant animatronics, it's got heartwarming moments that'll make you go all teary-eyed, and it's also got an ever-changing showtime schedule. Sometimes Fantasmic is going to play twice each evening, sometimes only once. Sometimes it'll happen right when the park's about to close, sometimes it'll happen an hour before. The important thing to take away here is that you're going to want to look at the My Disney Experience app on the day of your visit to make sure you know what time or times Fantasmic will be playing. That way you don't accidentally miss it by assuming one or the other. And don't keep up on only the Fantasmic times either. It's a good idea to check on the other Disney World show times that you want to prioritize too, like parades and fireworks, just in case they switch up on you at the very last second. So rope dropping the parks usually leads to shorter wait times for popular rides. Rope dropping means you are getting to the park right before it opens. But more often than not lately, we've noticed that isn't the case for the most popular ride at Animal Kingdom. At the other 3 parks, there's typically going to be a pretty busy attraction in each land. This means that at rope drop, crowds will usually disperse so that wait times at each of those big ticket attractions will remain relatively low. However, at Animal Kingdom, rope drop crowds typically head to one ride and one ride only, and that's Avatar Flight of Passage. Yep, this ride's going to be busy right from the start of the day. You might be able to bypass a chunk of the line with your early theme park entry, which allows Disney Resort guests to get in the parks 30 minutes before everyone else. But even then, all those early risers are still making a beeline to ride on the back of a Banshee. So here's my big bad advice. Flight of Passage can sometimes see dropped wait times around 2 p.m. or later, since guests will start park hopping out of Animal Kingdom by then and go over to one of the parks that stays open later. So it's worth keeping an eye on the My Disney Experience app wait times to see if those numbers start dropping around that time. Now, to for sure skip over the Flight of Passage line and avoid the waiting altogether, it could be worth investing in an individual lightning lane, which will allow you to bypass the main queue for $11 to $16 per person per ride through, and you can choose any time you want to ride if you do that. But if you don't want to drop all that extra dough for just one ride, go ahead and do everything else that you want to do in Animal Kingdom first, since the rest of the ride lines should not be bad at all. Then, once you've accomplished what you want to accomplish, backtrack over to Flight of Passage. Yep, the wait time can still be extensive, but the line moves along pretty constantly, plus several of the parts inside the queue are pretty cool to look at anyways. Plus, this queue has its own bathroom midway and water bottle refill station too, just in case you need to make a pit stop and a hydration break while you wait. Now, it may not matter if you rope drop that ride, but it does matter if you rope drop this restaurant. The vibes are chill, the handcrafted cocktails are refreshing, and the lounge bites are sublime. We here at DFB are big fans of Animal Kingdom's travel-themed Nomad Lounge, but we're not the only ones in love with it. This place does get rather busy, especially during peak travel seasons. And because it doesn't take advanced dining reservations, all the first-come, first-served seating here fills up quickly, which means you need to make sure you get ahead of the game by, quote, rope dropping this lounge. Now, Nomad Lounge doesn't open when the park opens. It opens at 11 a.m. But if you want to make sure that your name is on that walk-up wait list, then plan to either go up to the host stand at 11 a.m. to get your name on that list, or join the virtual walk-up list on your My Disney Experience app, which you can do on the dining tip board from anywhere in the park. All right, time to talk about the secret fireworks viewing areas in EPCOT. Now, everybody knows that all the railings get packed around World Showcase Lagoon like an hour before the show starts every night in EPCOT. And for the best views of the show, of the whole show, yeah, you're going to want to station yourself someplace near those railings to see all the different effects and the fireworks themselves. But if you're just looking for a good place to see the fireworks with no crowds trying to get up in your personal space, I must say that the Odyssey Pavilion Bridge leading up toward the front of World Showcase serves as a pretty solid place to see them. The fireworks are high enough that they aren't blocked off by the trees, not to mention the way these fireworks reflect across the water makes it even more beautiful. I wouldn't exactly recommend this spot if you've never seen the show before, since you will miss the other cool effects happening across the lagoon, but if you're looking for a unique angle or you're just burnt out from all the crowds you've encountered that day anyway, the Odyssey Pavilion Bridge is a real nice alternative. All right, back to Lightning Lanes. In June of 2023, Genie Plus switched to that park-specific pricing. The cost of Genie Plus now not only depends on the date you visit, but also on what park you want to go to, meaning Genie Plus for some parks may be cheaper than others. However, there's another Genie Plus option you might want to consider if you're using a park hopper during your trip, and that's the multi-park option. While the multi-park Genie Plus is always going to be the higher priced of the bunch, this can be a great way for those who have shorter Disney vacations planned to experience as many of the rides as you can in only a short amount of time. For example, you can begin your day in Animal Kingdom, but start stacking Lightning Lanes for Magic Kingdom, gathering any and all Lightning Lane return times that take place after 2 p.m., since park hopping doesn't start until 2 p.m. anyway. Same goes for a potential EPCOT Hollywood Studios day. You could start your morning having a leisurely stroll around the World Showcase while also grabbing Lightning Lane return times for Hollywood Studios. Then, by the time you get on the Skyliner to get over to Hollywood Studios, you'll already have a bunch of Lightning Lanes all lined up and ready for you to use back to back to back. Each of the Disney resorts is all about the extra experiences that'll add a little more oomph to your hotel visit. You can learn about these extra activities from the recreation boards posted near the main pools and lobbies. Activities vary between the resorts, but some hotels have specific wellness activities featured to help you get some extra steps in each day. You know, in case you're somehow not getting enough of them inside the parks, I guess. In all seriousness, though, these activities can be a great way to get all your kids' wiggles out while also keeping them entertained. These activities could include things like a Skyliner Rally scavenger hunt, where you'll have to ride the Skyliner between resorts to complete tasks and riddles, or even a morning family dance class with fun Disney tunes to rock out to get yourself awake and stretched out and ready to conquer the day. To find out more information about these wellness activities, talk to one of the recreational cast members at the hotel for more info. These are also fun options for those non-park days, right? Now, surprise, the airport shuttle, that bus that takes you from Disney to the airport and the airport to Disney, it's not just a Disney thing. When I talk about the Mears Connect Driven by Sunshine shuttles, which can take you from the Orlando airport to your hotel and back to the airport again at around $34 per person round trip style, I usually strictly talk about how it can take you to your Disney hotel, but it's not just the Disney resorts that Mears goes to. These shuttles can also drop guests off at several of the Good Neighbor hotels too, including, but not limited to, Be Resort and Spa, Hilton Orlando Buena Vista, Holiday Inn, Walt Disney World Swan, and Dolphin. For a full list of hotels that Mears Connect partners with, check with the Mears Connect website and click on the Hotels Service tab to see all the different options available. Now, this next one is a little tip because we are comfort monkeys. So making complimentary coffee in your Disney hotel room is nice, especially since it'll save you time and money rather than you having to grab it once you're in the park. But the cream and sugar you're given to go along with it is pretty basic. If you tend to like a little more flavor and sweetness to go along with your morning coffee, you might want to pack your own creamers from home to store in your room's mini fridge or refrigerator. If you can't pack any creamers because you're planning on flying or you just don't have a good place to store them in your car, you can always pick up some from a nearby big box store or have a couple bottles delivered to your resort via a grocery delivery app like Instacart. Don't have time for that? Smaller bottles of flavored creamer are also available for purchase in the refrigerated sections of the resort gift shops. These little bottles are going to be more expensive than what you'd find at a big box store, but if purchasing one bottle of creamer from a gift shop keeps you from purchasing coffee each morning you're at a park, then it might still wind up saving you money in the end. So, you know those Liege waffles you can find at Connections Cafe and Eatery in EPCOT? Some liege waffles are served to you fresh, like the standard one that comes topped with pearl sugar, strawberries, whipped cream, and chocolate sauce. But when it comes to some of those limited time liege waffles, like the Remy themed option you can find during this year's Food and Wine Festival, they'll come to you pre-packaged, which is not my favorite thing ever, but whatever, it's fine. And while these specialty liege waffles might not be as fresh as the standard ones, the fact that they come in a plastic bag does mean you don't have to eat it right when you get it. Instead, you can take it back to your hotel room and have it for breakfast the next day for a cheaper breakfast alternative. Not a bad trade-off, though I still prefer my waffles unpackaged. Okay, so FYI, PhotoPass cast members are awesome. Now, that's not a secret. Of course, y'all know that PhotoPass cast members are thebomb.com, but what makes them extra awesome is the fact that you can ask any of them to take a picture of your group using your own phone, and they will be happy to oblige. Not just oblige, they do a fantastic job of it. Some of the best pictures from my past trips were all thanks to PhotoPass cast members. If you have these cast members use your phone instead of their professional cameras, you don't have to worry about them charging you for them afterwards. But if you do want a professional pic to purchase during or after your trip, with maybe an extra magic shot added into the mix, then make sure to get one of those memory maker pictures taken too. Either way, don't be afraid to ask a PhotoPass photographer to snapshot you with your fam. That way, one family member doesn't have to become the designated photo taker and be left out of all the group pictures. Okay, we are back to lightning lanes. When I tell you that lightning lanes allow you to bypass the main ride queues in exchange for much shorter lines, I'm not saying that you're going to have zero waiting to do. You're just going to have less waiting to do, and this can sometimes be a surprise to a lot of folks. Lightning lanes will eventually merge you into the main queue line, but not before you skip over a big chunk of it. And depending on the attraction, this might mean you've still got an extra 15 to 20 minutes to wait before you actually board the ride. So it's not like if you get a lightning lane, you're just going to go straight in and onto the ride. There will still be some waiting, so work that into your plans. So a good example is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway in Hollywood Studios. While you'll skip over a lot of that queue, you're still going to wind up merging with the main line a little bit before the pre-show. And once you exit the pre-show, you'll still have a little bit more of a line to wrap around before you hop onto Goofy's train. Lightning lanes could also potentially see a backup and become lengthier than usual, especially when a ride first goes online after being down for a bit. Genie Plus is still a great way to cut down on your wait times for sure, but don't be thrown off if you scan in and still find yourself with some semblance of a line. By the way, this is a big problem for Tron too. If you get an individual lightning lane, you will bypass a lot of the queue line, but there's still quite a bit of waiting once you get in there. Okay, did you stock up on those Disney gift cards ahead of your trip? That's great. Hopefully you bought them someplace where you could get them for a discount. Now, Disney gift cards aren't just good to use in physical Disney shops and restaurants. You can use them through your My Disney Experience app too, to pay for items using the mobile checkout feature or to tack on Disney Genie Plus to your day. So when you go to pay for something through the My Disney Experience app, make sure to choose the Select Different Payment Method option that you'll see listed down below. From there, the My Disney Experience app will walk you through the steps of applying your gift card to your virtual purchase. Now, speaking of gift cards, if you're using a gift card to pay for a sit-down meal on Disney property, make sure you've got enough saved for gratuity as well, because if you only have a couple of dollars left over on your gift card after your meal, you might wind up accidentally shortchanging your server, and you don't want to do that. You can also bring extra cash in your wallet just for tipping purposes too. So earlier we talked about how the Magic Kingdom Monorail has two sides, the resort side and the express side. But the Skyliner station over at the Riviera also has two sides that you can board. The left side of the Skyliner, when you're facing the resort, will take you over to Hollywood Studios, but the right side is going to take you to EPCOT. While you're not going to end up stranded if you accidentally choose the wrong side, this could potentially make your trip longer than anticipated. So double check the overhead station signs to make sure you're boarding the correct area. Now again, this isn't a secret, but it is crucial for you to remember. Cast members have been trained for all sorts of scenarios, especially when it comes to ride breakdowns. If you're riding something and the attraction breaks to the point where you have to be evacuated off the ride, don't panic. This happens all the time, and cast members will make sure you're off the ride just as soon as they're able to get you out of there. Once you've evacuated, check and see if there's a cast member or two at the exit holding a tablet. If you see them, check and see if they're giving out a free lightning lane. Cast members often distribute these complimentary lightning lanes for guests who have to be evacuated off rides, which you'll be able to use on almost all the rides with lightning lane access at any given given time of the day. This more than likely excludes the most popular rides, however, like Rise of the Resistance or Flight of Passage, unless that was the specific ride you were on when it broke down. And you can also use this lightning lane to skip over the line of the ride you just evacuated from when, hopefully, it goes back online later in the day. If you had to be evacuated from an outdoor ride like Slinky Dog Dash or Test Track, for instance, then cast members might be at the exit handing out free water bottles too. But again, nothing's a guarantee, and what you receive as you exit off the ride will all depend on how long you were broken down and how busy the parks were looking that day. Whatever the case may be, remember that your safety and your family's safety is a very important thing, above all else, to the Disney cast members. And to keep your family safe, you just need to listen to cast member instructions and take a deep breath or two and keep yourself calm, because you'll be out of there soon, I promise. I don't know if you're planning on going to Disney's Typhoon Lagoon water park during your next Disney World vacation, but heads up, it can be painful. All the Typhoon Lagoon walkways have these teeny tiny crater-like holes in them that more than likely help keep guests from slipping and falling on their face, which we can appreciate, but when you have to keep stepping on those little crater holes on your bare feet all the way around the park, these things are feet killers. Not to mention that pavement gets scalding hot, so if it's not the texture of the pathway that'll get you, it'll be the temperature. Now, I'd suggest bringing water shoes with you to this park to avoid the same fate. As long as your water shoes completely cover your feet and they don't have any exposed metal parts to them like zippers or something, then you should be okay to keep them on while you ride the water slides. However, if you're wearing something that doesn't completely cover your feet like sandals or flip-flops, you'll have to take them off and hold them as you ride down the slides. You can also avoid walking as much as possible and just swim from place to place too. The lazy river, aka Castaway Creek, winds around the entirety of Typhoon Lagoon and has many exit points along the way, meaning you can just float from one side of the park to another and spare your poor feet that treacherous journey. So does it feel absolutely ridiculous to bend over and rub your inner thighs with a deodorant-like stick? Yes. Is it one of the best things you can put in your park bag to keep you from feeling absolutely sore and miserable by the end of the day? Also, yes. Thigh rescue sticks like Megababe or Body Glide are relatively inexpensive and apply silky smooth protection to your thighs and any other part of your body that's going to rub against other parts of your body to keep away that dreaded raw burning chafe that you might experience during your super hot and sweaty day around the park. You can order them on Amazon or at your local drugstore. You can get them at sports stores like Dick's Sporting Goods, places like that, because runners use these all the time. So other things you'll want to pack in your park bag that could help you feel 10 times better while venturing around the parks: those blister band-aids, moleskin for your feet, because it's not just your thighs rubbing together that could become a burning issue. It could instead be your heels rubbing against your shoes, or those straps on your sandals rubbing against your toes. And you never know where the hot spots are going to be, let me tell you right now, because I have worn a pair of shoes in Disney World with no problems for years, and then got a new pair of those exact same shoes, and suddenly there's a hot spot and I've got a blister. So you don't know what parts of your body are going to hate you until you've been walking 20,000 steps in the Florida heat for 8 hours. So be prepared for your body to rebel and be ready with the much needed relief when it does. Okay, let's talk for a second about Caribbean Beach Resort. However big you think it is right now, just double that in your head, because this moderate resort is huge. And I'm not saying huge as in skyscraper. It's so expansive that it takes forever and a day to walk anywhere. Even the main area of this resort, where you're going to find the feature pool and the gift shop and bell services and restaurants, is still a very good distance away from the Caribbean Beach's Skyliner hub. In fact, that main area winds up being closer to the Riviera Resort Skyliner hub than the Caribbean Beach one. All this to say, when you're picking a preferred room here, decide what you really want to be closest to. Do you want to be closer to the Skyliner, or do you want to be closer to the other resort amenities? If you want to be right up there near the actual Caribbean Beach Skyliner station, the Jamaica building is going to be your best bet. But if you want to be near to the Fuentes del Moro pool and the Banana Cabana pool bar, you're better off in the Barbados building. Now, some of the Martinique rooms will also put you closer to the main area, but if you do get placed in that building, then using the Riviera Skyliner to get over to the parks will be more convenient for you than using the one at your own resort. Speaking of hotels, Disney World is a really good place to celebrate something big. Birthdays, anniversaries, promotions, graduations, finally nailing that bread pudding recipe passed down from your great-great-grandmother. You know the drill. Whatever the occasion may be, if you want to surprise someone in your group with a little extra congrats before they get to your room, you can reach out to Magical Floral and Gifts. Now, here's the thing that's changed. Magical Floral and Gifts is brand new. All of this stuff used to be run by Disney. Now they outsource it to a third-party retailer. So they're going to be able to deliver like gift baskets and floral arrangements and stuff to your hotel. So when Disney did it, they had their own floral service called Disney Floral and Gifts. And now that they've discontinued, the floral delivery is going to work a little differently than it has in the past. Instead of these gift bundles being brought directly to your room, you may have to pick them up yourself. According to the website, you must be present for your gift to be delivered to your room, or you can pick it up at your front desk. To place an order ahead of your trip, just visit the Magical Floral and Gifts website. But heads up, it used to be that they would actually put the stuff in your room before you got there. That doesn't happen anymore, so be prepared. All right, so don't forget about this underrated nighttime show. I know Fantasmic and Hollywood Studios is like really awesome, but don't forget about the projection show that happens on the Grauman's Chinese Theater each night too. Oh, by the way, did I say show? I meant shows. Each evening, the Grauman's Chinese Theater features 2 different projection shows. The first is called Disney Movie Magic, which highlights classic live-action films like Mary Poppins, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Indiana Jones. And the second is called Wonderful World of Animation, which highlights classic animated Disney and Pixar films like Zootopia, The Incredibles, and Moana, as well as a bajillion other movies that you'll have to spot out yourself. Much like Fantasmic, these projection show times are bound to change, so you'll want to look up their schedules before you arrive at the park. But they're pretty short, each lasting about 10-ish minutes, and make for a real nice cherry on the top of your packed out park day. So you know when I talk about Disney's lockers that you can stow your stuff in for a $10 to $15 fee? I'm usually talking about the ones you can find at the front of the parks. But when you're inside Disney's Animal Kingdom, there's another locker rental location you can find deep within the park too, and it's right outside the Kali River Rapids ride over in the Asia section. How convenient is this? While many guests who choose to pay for lockers here are just trying to keep their stuff dry instead of taking it on the family raft ride with them and hoping a big wave doesn't make all their valuables soggy, anyone can pay for a Kali River locker and have access to it all day long without having to backtrack to the front of the park each time you need to retrieve something. Super useful, and it's like nobody knows about them. Now, those Good Neighbor hotels, they partner with Disney to give Disney guests a potentially more affordable hotel stay while still keeping them close to the parks, right? So many of these Good Neighbor hotels also have similar perks that you can find at the Disney-owned hotels, and that's great. But before you select a Good Neighbor hotel based on the sole promise that they'll hook you up with Disney perks, make sure to read the fine print first, because that deal may not be as sweet as you were hoping. Take complimentary shuttle transportation services, for instance. Now, I know we often gripe about how slow Disney buses can be, but at least those Disney resort buses are picking up guests and dropping them off all day long. Meanwhile, some Good Neighbor hotels might promise Disney shuttle services, but they end up having very limited time frames that they're actually operating. For example, the last Good Neighbor hotel that we stayed at only had 2 morning pickup times for the Disney parks, one at 7:40 a.m. and one at 9:45 a.m. And these morning shuttles would only take you over to Animal Kingdom, EPCOT, or Hollywood Studios. In order to get over to Magic Kingdom, you had to take a bus over to EPCOT and then hitch a ride on another Disney bus or monorail from there. And then, if you wanted to be picked up by the shuttle at the end of the night, you could only be picked up from EPCOT at 9:30 p.m. or 10:30 p.m., meaning if you were at any other park, you'd still have to make the trip over to EPCOT just to board your bus back to the hotel, and it sounds exhausting, right? The lesson here, while not every Good Neighbor hotel is going to have a bus schedule that you've got to majorly plan around like this, some of them will. So if you're going to be relying on shuttle services to get you from place to place around property, and you're not planning on driving yourself or paying for ride shares all trip long, do your research and make sure the hotel you're selecting is going to mesh well with your itinerary. So, surprise, your phone might call 911 without you even knowing. Every day people call 911 while they're in Disney World without meaning to. But how and why? Well, lots of smartphones and apps like Life 360, for instance, have a built-in crash detection feature that will automatically dial 911 if a collision is being sensed by the phone. As you might imagine, a roller coaster like Rock and Roller Coaster or Big Thunder Mountain Railroad could mimic the force of a collision. So if you don't want the same mistake to happen to you, make sure to either turn your cell off or switch it to airplane mode before you take off on a coaster ride. You can also go into the settings on your phone and turn off any emergency or crash detection features while you're on vacation. Just note that these safety features will not be reactivated again until you go back into the settings and turn them on yourself. Seeing a Disney World ride become temporarily unavailable on the My Disney Experience app isn't uncommon, unfortunately. But how frequently do these rides actually break down throughout the year? Well, ride breakdowns happen more often for some Disney World rides than others. In fact, our good friends over at allears.net figured out which rides across each of the parks had the most breakdowns during the last year, and the results are pretty shocking. In third place, the People Mover in Magic Kingdom broke down 532 times over 264 days. And yeah, that's only third place. In second place, Test Track in Epcot closed 560 times over 303 days, but that's probably because of rain, who knows. And in the first place, Rise of the Resistance in Hollywood Studios, Winner Chicken Dinner, broke down the most at 580 times in 302 days. So there are a lot of pieces and parts that have to work together to make Rise of the Resistance actually, well, work. So it makes sense that this one goes down a lot. But if this is a priority ride for you, hit it up at the beginning of the day instead of towards the end. Not only would the lines be shorter for Rise in the morning, but if anything else goes wrong that forces you to step out of line for it and go someplace else for a while, you should still be able to return later on in the day to try again when it's hopefully back up and running. Okay, if you would like to see Baby Yoda in Hollywood Studios, that is now easier to achieve. If you're on the hunt to see The Mandalorian and Grogu in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, you're not going to find the dynamic duo in a set meet and greet location. They're going to be out wandering around Batuu because they've got some important bounty hunter missions they've got to fulfill. Finding these two used to be a luck of the draw sort of situation, but now the My Disney Experience app lists the available times that this pair starts to stroll through Galaxy's Edge each day. To find it, head to the map portion of the app, the second icon on the bottom. Make sure the filter is set to characters, then take a look at the Galaxy's Edge area. The Mandalorian character experience is marked by a Mickey head close to the Batuu shops. Once you select that, you'll see some details pop up which you can tap on to see a full list of times at which Mando and Grogu are set to roam near Black Spire Market during the day. Now you can time your visit to this planet and increase your chances of seeing these guys in action. All right, we got to lay down some Gideon's Bakehouse rules for you that we didn't cover earlier. When you visit this odd little bakery, there's a limit on how much dessert you're allowed to buy. So yes, Gideon's will cut you off. Now, at most bakeries, you've got the option to order the goods in dozens, but at Gideon's, you're going to be limited to 6 cookies per person for the everyday options. Cool, fair. I probably didn't need more than 6 cookies anyway. However, for those special limited time cookies, you can typically only purchase 2 per person. Cake slices are generally the same way. You can usually only grab 2 slices of cake per person as well, which again is probably more than enough since a single slice of cake is massive here and could probably satisfy 18 people in one sitting. So if you're planning on visiting Gideon soon and are hoping to stock up on cookies for the week, keep in mind that you're only going to be able to order a half dozen and not a whole dozen. You're also not going to be able to take home an entire Gideon's cake either, but imagine trying to snarf all that down before hopping onto your plane anyways. With all that being said, if you want to order more cakes and cookies than what Disney Springs limits you to, Gideon's East End Market location is less strict on that thanks to their pre-ordering capabilities. You'll just need to make sure that large cookie orders and whole cake purchases for East End are pre-ordered at least 72 hours in advance. So some of you might think that this next piece of information is useless, but I promise for some of you out there, this is going to be a lifesaver. So Disney World is attempting to phase out all their plastic bags in exchange for reusable ones, but right now you're still going to be able to take home a plastic bag with your purchase. And these plastic bags can be messy. When you're carrying around one of these bags during a hot Orlando afternoon, don't be shocked if you look down and your hands are blue. The blue plastic coloring from the gift shop bags tends to temporarily stain your sweaty hands. So if you look down at your palms and wonder why you're suddenly a blotchy shade of blue, this is why, y'all. FYI. Don't be wearing a white shirt and wipe your hands on it. Now, those Amorette's Patisserie cakes you can find inside Disney Springs are stunning. More often than not, I'm more excited to see what petite cake designs come out next rather than actually eating them. But be careful when you decide to purchase one of these expensive desserts, especially if you're planning on spending the whole day at Springs. These cakes are pretty, but they're not invincible. So if you're not going to eat it as soon as you get it, they can and will melt when they're exposed for too long in the Orlando heat. And when you pay $20 for one of these cakes, only to open it up a few hours later and find it all melty and gross, that's a sad situation, my friends. So if you decide to purchase an Amorette's cake, either plan on sharing it right then and there with your group, or make sure you grab it toward the end of your shopping day so you can take it back to your hotel and immediately put it in that fridge once you're inside the room. There are so many great snacks and desserts all around Disney property, and we've had the privilege of reviewing every snack available, so we can let you know which ones are worth the money and which ones aren't. But because there are so many snacks out there, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, we've written a series of DFB guides dedicated to snacking around the parks and resorts. So be sure to check out the dfbstore.com website and find our DFB guide to Walt Disney World Dining plus Snacks bundle for every detail you need to know when it comes to all your vacation snacking and spending. And be sure to use code YouTube to save extra money on your total guidebook purchase. Thanks in advance for your support of DFB. So you don't have to buy a Magic Band to get your Disney World park tickets. You don't even need a physical card to keep track of them. All you need is your phone. The My Disney Experience app has a Magic Mobile feature which holds onto your Disney World park tickets for you, but there is a little bit of a catch here. Our experience has been that in order to use your Magic Mobile tickets, you need to download them from your My Disney Experience app and put them into your Apple Wallet or your Google Pay. To do this, use the menu button in the lower right-hand corner of the home screen, select the Disney Magic Mobile option, and follow the steps to create your pass and save it to your Apple Wallet or Google Pay. Then you'll just repeat this process for any other family members in your group that you manage through the same My Disney Experience account. Even if there are ways around this, it's probably best just to do it if you've got a smartphone. Now, there's nothing quite like taking a break from the parks, hopping onto the monorail, and grabbing a quick drink from the Grand Floridian or Polynesian Village or the Contemporary resorts. We love a monorail crawl. But those aren't the only resorts where you're going to find great drinks and leisurely lounges and a quick or free ride on one of Disney's most popular transportation services. It is time to start the Skyliner crawl. And I say start, but DFB wrote an article kind of creating the Skyliner crawl back in 2019. So this has been a thing for a while and we love it. The hotels along the Skyliner route, including Art of Animation, Pop Century, Riviera, Caribbean Beach, Boardwalk Inn, Yacht and Beach Club, can make for a very fun and packed out bar crawl day too, with both unique alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks. So if you want to check out our Skyliner bar crawl over on the DFB website, we got the link in the description for you. Here are just a few of our favorite places to grab a drink along this route. Bar Riva at the Riviera can always hook you up with a nice frosé, but they've also got this super refreshing non-alcoholic Mediterranean mint lemonade that we love. Banana Cabana Lounge at Caribbean Beach is all about the tropical fruity drinks like the Kraken Punch, the Pink Guava Colorado, or the non-alcoholic Peach Comer made with orange, lemon, and peach flavors topped off with soda water. Bellevue Lounge at Boardwalk Inn was just recently renovated with a new paint job and furniture. It also has new drinks for guests to try, like the Orange Blossom Manhattan, the Cold Brew Martini, and the non-alcoholic Agave Garden with lime juice, passion fruit papaya green tea, and cucumber. And finally, I gotta shout out the Beaches and Cream to-go window, because they've got both spiked and unspiked ice cream floats that make for a nice sweet finish to a successful Skyliner bar crawl day. So back in the day, several Disney resorts used to equip their rooms with cute little sewing kits. While you can still sometimes request one at the front desk of your hotel if they're available, I've learned after many a visit to Disney World that having one of these little kits in your park bag and on hand at all times can be a major help in the midst of any catastrophes. So mini sewing kits usually come equipped with a teeny pair of scissors, a needle and thread, some safety pins, maybe even a spare button or two. And when I say there have been trips where I've used all of the above, at some point, I'm not kidding. In fact, I use those scissors almost every single trip. So you can find travel size sewing kits on Amazon for as little as $5. And believe me, you will thank me with your very first after hours wristband that you can't get off. Per the release of this video, there are 2 rides that still require you to enter into a virtual queue in order to experience them. That's Tron Light Cycle Run in Magic Kingdom and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind in Epcot. Each day, these virtual queues open up twice for all park guests, once at 7 a.m. and once at 1 p.m. Let's say you accidentally slept through the 7 a.m. release. I know you would never do that, right? However, if you need to try for the 1 p.m. drop instead, we've got some tips. Unlike that 7 a.m. drop, you do have to be inside the park to be eligible to grab boarding group numbers for the 1 p.m. virtual queue. Now, Disney does have free Wi-Fi, but it isn't the most reliable Wi-Fi, especially when everyone else in the park is trying to access it. So you may want to switch over to your phone's data for a second for a better chance at getting into that virtual queue, since it's bound to fill up pretty quickly as soon as it opens for everyone. Also, try to avoid being inside a show or restaurant building when the 1 p.m. drop goes live. Instead, go somewhere in the park that's out in the open where you'll have less of a chance of your phone signal being dropped. You know that play set or toy car or figurine that you bought from the Disney gift shop for your excited kid? That excitement can quickly transform into a full-on meltdown if those toys come in a box and if you aren't able to free them from their zip tie imprisonment. And I'm not just talking about a kiddo meltdown here. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to throw one of those packaged toys across the room because I cannot get them out of the box. So go ahead and ask the cast member behind the register to help you get these tightly packaged toys out of their cardboard confinements before you leave the shop. That way, you won't have to struggle with them yourself when you're back in the hotel room. I've even had to somehow find a screwdriver to get some of those trains out of those boxes, for heaven's sake. Now, cast members can also cut tags off your new pair of mini ears or Nuimo plushies if you want to wear them out of the store too, but just a heads up, sometimes you have to have a whole toolbox to get some of those toys out, so make sure to check it before you leave the store. Now, speaking of those Nuimos and all of those little tiny plush things that everybody uses in Disney World, right? Wearing those around the parks is all the rage as of late. You can just ask our friend Emma from All Ears and her good pal Kermie. Now, the shoulder pets that are designed to sit on your clothes all day long, aka the ones with the magnetic tushies, tend to fall off when a backpack strap knocks into them or your ponytail whacks them or you just move in general. The magnets really aren't all that strong for these little guys. But a Nuimo can stay with you all day long with just a backpack strap and hair tie. Place your Nuimo against your backpack strap, then loop that hair tie around your Nuimo's arms as if it's slipping on its own backpack. And then that's it. You should be good to go. As long as the integrity of your hair tie doesn't let you down, your Nuimo will stay by your side without you having to worry about them falling off and getting lost. All right, I sound like a broken record in these videos sometimes, y'all, but do not pay full price for a Disney World hotel. I repeat, don't pay full price. Disney regularly releases hotel and ticket discounts throughout the year, often in late winter and early spring, sometimes into the summer and early fall too. And for heaven's sake, there are discounts for Christmas this year. So what happens when you book a room early and then a discount releases that would have applied to your trip perfectly? Don't sweat it. You're still going to be able to apply that discount from the My Disney Experience app. Go to the My Plans, Reservations, and Tickets section and look for the option to change or modify a reservation. From there, find the exact date and times of your vacation, scroll down, select your room, and check out those top options listed. One will be for room only, but if there's a discount that you can still apply to your room, there should be another option listed as special offers. Select that one if you're able, follow the rest of the prompts per usual, and get your trip rebooked with the special offer applied. Now, if for some reason you're not able to apply this discount to your pre-existing reservation or you're not seeing that special offers option, you can always call Disney for a little helping hand at 407-939-1936 and they should be able to handle it for you. Or if you're working with a travel agent like our friends over at Small World Vacations, they can do all those discount changes for you and they probably already did it before you even thought about it. So yay. Now, that said, if something's different about your particular version of the My Disney Experience app, if something's not updated, or I don't even know, but you can still do this on the website as well. That's usually the version I'm most comfortable with, but just a heads up, Disney says you can do it on your app as well. But if you're having problems or you're technologically disinclined like I am, then go ahead and do it on the website. 2 words, drink flights. Okay, drink flights can be the best option for the indecisive folks out there. It's me, I'm the problem. Now, flights give you the opportunity to try a few sample-sized drinks without committing to a full glass of any of them, while also getting the chance to try several boozy options at once. Some of the best places to pick up a drink flight are Homecoming at Disney Springs. Their Moonshine flights feature all 5 of their drinks on tap. Three Bridges Bar and Grill at Coronado Springs has their awesome house-made sangria flight. And Geyser Point Bar and Grill at Wilderness Lodge, they've got their oh-so-colorful and fruity margarita flights that change out through the year. So those are just 3, but I promise there's tons more flights all over the place that you can try. Now, I used to prioritize Rock and Roller Coaster each time I went to Hollywood Studios, but lately, even after its most recent renovations, I still find myself skipping out on this one once in a while, and that's because after that super fun initial 0 to 59 mile per hour launch, your head just kind of feels like it's bopping around like a ping pong ball against the shoulder restraints. I still haven't figured out if it's better to just let my head go or try to hold it steady, but either way, I usually find myself popping a couple of Advil after it's all said and done. For a better chance at a smoother ride through, try to request a seat toward the front of the coaster, like in the first 3 rows. Cast members won't always be able to fulfill that request for you, but sometimes they can, so it's worth asking about. And usually the first row, they have a separate line for it anyway once you get up to the front of the line, so you can wait for that row. Honestly, if you've never ridden this coaster before, I'd say it's still worth giving it a shot because it's fun and gets your adrenaline pumping. It's a really fun ride. But if you're someone who's super prone to headaches, you might want to sit this one out. If you're going to be using the Disney dining plan when it returns to the Disney World scene starting on January 9th, 2024, then you're going to need to know how you want to spend your snack credits. Can I give you a suggestion? You may want to use them around Epcot's festival booths. There are so many snacks and sweets around the Epcot festivals that are all going to be eligible for your snack credits. And even though you'll get one snack credit to use per day, you'll be able to use these credits anytime you want to during your trip. So you might want to use multiple snack credits on your Epcot day to try out a bunch of festival treats. The best part is these festival treats are usually priced pretty high, which means you're going to get a lot for your snack credits. Now, to find out which festival snacks are part of the Disney Dining Plan, look for that little Disney Dining Plan purple icon next to the festival items on the menus. The Disney Resort gift shops sell lots of different necessities when you're in a pinch. We're talking about toothbrushes, baby food, cough drops, nail clippers, so many different things. But not everything available for you to purchase at these resort gift shops can necessarily be seen right away. Some necessities are sold behind the counter, meaning you'll have to ask a cast member if you need to purchase them. These could include things like distilled water for CPAP machines and nebulizers for those experiencing non-emergency breathing issues. It's always worth asking to see if a gift shop sells a necessity that you need right away if you want to avoid making the trip out of the Disney bubble to get it yourself, or you don't want to wait on a grocery app to deliver it to your resort. Whew, glad I got those secrets off my chest. It's like a weight has been lifted. Thanks for joining me on this journey around the most magical place on Earth today. And don't forget, if you're wanting more of a deep dive into that Disney Genie Plus scene, we've got that free downloadable cheat sheet ready to send your way at disneyfoodblog.com/DisneyGeniePlus. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.